So it is, the Industrial Revolution is not just an industrial revolution. It's a collaboration
First he
of cause
said
and effect.
Consumer revolution first happened. They are making canal.
So before that, they had the fortunate situation that there were coals were widely available. And coals were actually they were much more potent fuel than wood, and much easier and cheaper to bring to market than wood. Then that meant that coal actually was very profitable to mine, but since they did not have the technology to mine below a certain level, there were a lot of coals that they could not mine. So then the next question was, okay, how can we bring up a solution for that? Because whoever was capable of doing that would be capable of making a lot of money. So that resulted in the steam engine, and the steam engine was actually powered by the coals that were dug from the mine. Then they also had a system where the power of the royal family was limited relative to other countries in Europe. There was much more power in Parliament in England compared, for example, to France and to other countries in Europe. And Parliament was very much inclined to speeding up this industrial revolution because it gave them opportunity. Another important factor is that science actually met with business. And on top of that, we had the influence of the colonialization and the money that was made overseas. So we had capital, we had science, we had liberty of thinking, and the business world that was basically driving Parliament. So that put together started all these wheels started to turn. Then, of course, there was a matter of, okay, how are we going to support? Because we can create things, but if we don't create a market, then we are nowhere. So that actually started to trigger the movement where people started to think about marketing and sales and how we are going to create a desire for the products that we are producing, and so that started with Wedgwood and other entrepreneurs, and marketing became a kind of a field that triggered consumption demand, and that.
By the way, Wedgwood is not industrial, not related to industrial revolution, right? Wedgwood is handmade.
Handmade, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why is they showing?
Well, basically, it was entrepreneurs like Westwood that. So industrial revolution, it creates more efficiency. It made it possible. We saw that last week when we were looking at the video, or 2 weeks ago, that actually a lot of goods were created. But how would they? How were they to find a market for it? Now, Wedgwood was very ingenious in terms of, okay, he saw an opportunity. He wanted to sell more of his pots. And he came up with ways to actually whet the appetite of the average person, because he realized that it's not only about the product, but also about the story behind the product. He made pots that were also used by the queen and by other nobility, and if that were true, if it was good enough for the queen and good enough for other nobility, then other people who had money would follow suit, because they would like to have access to the same products that were used by queens that everybody aspired to. So this started a movement of marketing. That started a movement of consumerism. And this is not so much about industrialization, but more about whatever facilitated industrialization is actually consumerism, because without a final consumer, industrialization will not thrive. And another thing is that the case of Wedgwood was also that it showed that like, for example, infrastructure like roads, but later on also canals, were initiated by the entrepreneurs, not by the state. So it was not focused on military about geopolitics, but more on based on economic opportunity. So it is this mindset, the political system, the consumer market, the role of science, everything comes together to create this industrial revolution. It's not simply invention of machinery and applying this to create factories. It's much more than that.
There is some what does last message means made by him, saying that we are in a shadow, made by those who achieved this revolution.
So his last message, I believe that basically there was a new awareness that up until then in England, people succeeded to do what their parents had done, their great-parents have done, and their great-great-parents had done before them. So if you were a farmer, if you were born in a farmer family, then it was extremely likely that you would become a farmer too, because there was social immobility. But Industrial Revolution changed all that, because they created employment in the factories. So that was something that had never happened before. People could move to the cities. It created opportunities for people to become for entrepreneurship. So this actually changed the way that England thought of itself. They defined themselves by the shadows of the past, by what their parents and great-grandparents had done before them, and gave people the opportunity to more or less decide their own walk of life. So they changed from a backward-looking society to a forward-looking society.
So it's a positive message, or
it's a positive message. Yes.
Positive.
Yes.
Positive.
Yes, it's a positive message. So basically, there was very much immobility before that. Of course, I mean, it's not true. Maybe people were perfectly happy to do exactly what their parents did before them. If your father was a teacher, then you would become a teacher. If your father was a farmer, you would become a farmer. Maybe that was okay for other people, but there was very little choice, because that's basically all the options you had. Everything was decided by what you did, what your parents did, and that changed. That changed, and like England specifically, has always been a very much class-oriented society. There was very little mobility between the classes. There was a very a big awareness, but so that was kind of a revolution. That the Industrial Revolution also changed society and its DNA basically in England.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just because the words of the shadow gives me sometimes the expression of being negative.
Right. So basically, people grew up from the shadow of their past, and they actually moved away from that towards an orientation and where people can determine their being on what they want to be in the future instead of the shadows of the past.
Okay.
Right. So the shadows was actually also intended to be negative, but what the presenter wanted to emphasize that basically they threw off the shadows of the past and became more free to determine their own future.
I see. Okay.
What do you mean shadow? What does it mean?
The shadows of the past. That's what I meant. So your existence is determined by your past, by what your father is doing, what your great grandfather has been doing. That would always. Basically, if your father was a potter, you would become a potter. If your father was a farmer, you would become a farmer, and your children would also become farmers, right? So basically, there was very little choice that you had in life. It was just how you were born, and that's how you would die. That all changed because of the Industrial Revolution.
Which other issues do we still have?
Actually, the next one. So from the Industrial Revolution, I would like to move on to colonialization and decolonialization of Europe. Then Christianity, roots of Christianity and Catholic Church and Reformation, and World War One, maybe World War Two, and then move on to philosophy.
So many.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay, or would you like to? Okay. Finished.
Okay.
For today.
Takashi, today finish. Do you have any opinion?
Okay, just a minute. Yeah, question and.
Okay. So, it's good.はい、皆さんこんにちは、雲野です。今日はですね、雲野塾の研修のプログラムをご紹介したいと思います。で、こういうふうなホームページありますけれども、ぜひですね、一度中身をご覧になっていただきたいと思います。今日はブーキューブさんのスタジオに来て、この収録をしておりますので、中身はこういうふうになってて、今最近ホットなね、グローバルリーダーの定義など書いてあります。で、特に経団連が作成しました留学すれば英語ができて専門性を持つというだけではですね、グローバルリーダーになれないとここに書いてありますようにですね、仕事ができる専門性を持つ英語ができるだけじゃなくてですね、私どもの塾ではリベラルアースということと、それからもう一つは孫子の兵を、さらにはですね、日本の歴史というものを合わせて教えることによって皆さんが海外の欧米の方々と、もしくは華僑圏の方々と正々堂々と渡り合えるような人物を育成しようというふうなことを考えています。ここに次のスライドが出ておりますけれども、ここに書いてありますのはですね、さらに、私どもの雲野塾の中身につきましてはですね、欧米の資料しか使っておりません。また実際に雲野塾は英語でやっておりますので、英語の講師が話しておりますけど、学習はですね、日本の歴史をまだ教えてますので、学習の午後はですね、日本のプログラムをしております。で、以前はこれ有料だったので、今はですね、実際に会場費も取っていただいておりませんで、毎回5000円ということで、朝9時から午後5時までやっておりますので、ぜひ皆さんですね、ご検討の上ご参加いただければと。英語のできない方もですね、学習の午後こういうふうな研修をしておりますので、ぜひご参加いただければというふうに思っておりますので、よろしくお願いします。で、ここにさらにですね、グループ討議とか実務の勘どころを教えると書いてありますけど、実際には私が10年ほどですね、欧米の新聞とか雑誌等をですね、集めてきた、もともと英語のベースでございますので、そうしたものをですね、50セッションのテーマに分けて資料作成をしております。そういうことで、世界のオペレーション、もしくはカントリーリスクも含めてですね、し しかも世界のトップの方々に対してもいろいろな分析とか洞察をしてですね、議論をしております。そういったことも含めてですね、今後ともよろしくお願いしたいと思います。以上で私の挨拶を終えますが、今回のこのビデオの収録にあたってはですね、V キューブさんのスタジオをお借りしてですね、お時間を頂戴して、このビデオを作成させていただきました。よろしくお願いします。どうもありがとうございました。